This is La Pizarra, a place where we explore creative minds in the entertainment industry on both sides of the mic and the camera. Here is your host, Nikki Mondellini.
Welcome to another episode of La Pizarra. My name is Nikki Mondellini. I'm your host. And today we're going to talk about magic in a big way. For that, we're going to explore the creative mind of the man behind the biggest magic shows in the world. And that is Simon Painter. He is the executive producer and creative director of the Illusionists, Cirque or Circus 1903, Noir, Adrenaline, and the Illusionists 2. You can check out their website, theworksent.com. I'm going to link to that in the show notes. And you can also follow them on Instagram at The Illusionist Live. You can see all of their videos on YouTube and, of course, are also on their website. Well, The Illusionist is now the biggest magic show in history, smashing box office records in Sydney, London, and Broadway. So stick around and let's find out how it all happens with Simon Painter. If you're a podcaster or you've been thinking about starting a podcast, I highly recommend the platform that has worked very well for me when it comes to recording interviews, and that's Squadcast. Especially because of its amazing Dolby sound quality, which gives you advanced audio processing features like dynamic audio leveling for increased quality and clarity, immersive experience with sound moving around you thanks to advanced spatial audio, improved sound clarity with noise canceling and echo reduction, optimized bandwidth to help ensure everyone stays connected, and advanced network resilience to help maintain good audio quality in challenging network conditions. And you can download the sessions in a format that is easy to edit, so post-production is faster and publishing is quicker. Or you can download the mixed and master files. Try it out for 7 days at no cost by visiting squadcast.fm/ref=La Pizarra. You will find this link in the description. And you can also record video on Squadcast, which you can easily download into any video editing software. Depending on your membership, you can record up to 10 hours or more per month. They also have a great feature that uses autosave while you're recording to keep all the content, even in the case of technical failures, or if you forget to hit record when you're starting a session. And since you can record from anywhere, a cloud backup is available when you're not able to download your audio and video files. And I will let you know that tech support is very reliable. They will get back to you within a couple of hours to troubleshoot any issues. Go ahead and start your 7-day free trial today at squadcast.fm/ref=La Pizarra. After your free trial, you can decide which membership level best fits your needs, and you can pay monthly or annually at a discounted price. Find out all the amazing things you can do with Squadcast by clicking on the link. Simon Painter is executive producer and creative director of The Works Entertainment, which is one of the most successful live entertainment companies in the world and has created and produced first-class entertainment in over 400 cities and 40 countries. Their award-winning shows have smashed records multiple times around the world. Their first collaboration was Le Grand Cirque at the Sydney Opera House. Later, Simon created The Illusionists, Witness the Impossible with his partner Tim Lawson, which sold out its season at the Sydney Opera House even before opening night, something that has happened in arenas and theaters around the world, along with its sequels The Illusionist 2.0 and Illusionist Turn of the Century. The touring shows include Cirque Paris, Noir, The Dark Side of Cirque, and The Unbelievables. And their latest productions include Circus 1903, The Golden Age of Circus, and Now You See Me. Simon, welcome to La Pizarra. I'm so happy you could join me today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, it's amazing to read about all of the productions that you guys have going on because, my goodness, in over 400 cities, this is just crazy. I mean, how does that get to happen? Okay, let's just backtrack a little bit. How does a classical violinist end up being the producer of the biggest magic shows in the world?
It certainly didn't happen by accident, but it wasn't the path that I would have ever chosen. That's for sure. So, it's quite a convoluted story, but I was the fiddle player in Spirit of the Dance, which was the Irish dance show, very similar to Riverdance and All of the Dance. And I traveled around the world with that show. And the chap in charge of it, David King, he was like a sort of very old-fashioned impresario of theatre. So he kind of didn't go by the normal theatre rules of how you make shows. And I learned a huge amount from him. Essentially, I worked for him for years, traveling around the shows and playing the fiddle. I was in Vegas and Israel and all the way across Europe and Australia and China and Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Really bizarre and weird places, often playing, like some nights would play 10,000 people a night, others would be like 500. It would be just the smorgasbord of venues. And eventually I ended up in South Africa producing... Wow. At the time, it was sort of like African river dance. I saw this troupe of dancers, and they were doing something very similar to river dance, but in Africa. So I was like, this is it. This is the next big thing. So I ditched the fiddle, and I created what was to become the largest dance show in the history of South Africa. And I created it, I was 23, and I had lots of partners in South Africa, and I was very much out of my depth. Like, I didn't really know what I was doing at all, but I just knew I had a great concept. And so I made a poster. David, my boss from Spirits of the Dance, his whole thesis was you make the marketing for the show first, and then if the marketing works, then you make the show. So I made the marketing, everyone loved it, and then I started making the show. And it was due to open in about the beginning of January. I was probably 23 years old or something, and I worked on it for about a year. Had lots of partners, and it was not easy at all. Like, Africa is a crazy place. Johannesburg was wild, like dangerous and crazy. And we were just doing a deal. There were quite a few sort of well-known people involved with it, and we were just in the final stages of rehearsals. There were billboards up on the motorway. The theatre was about to open, and I was drinking champagne, toasting my success with my then girlfriend, and the phone went, and my investor had died of a heart attack. And that was it. The show never opened.
Oh, my goodness. Unbelievable.
So I lost all my money. And then we had to go and tell everybody it was off. It was terrible. And then the guy that died, he was quite a good friend. So it was like, there was just this double whammy of like, he died. He was pretty young as well. And then it was just chaos, like awfulness. And I was trying to revive it every which way I could and try and find more money. And eventually I just kind of had to fly home with my tail between my legs. But I bumped into the guy that I'd given me work for those years on the violin, and he said, hey, go and play the fiddle again. So I'd kind of like gone full circle. So I ended up on the back of the bus playing the fiddle. And randomly, through a series of bizarre events, ended up living in Monte Carlo with a showgirl who was part of the show. And I did that for quite a few months. I was the poorest person in Monte Carlo, I would say. But it was a pretty great place to be. And I bumped into my old boss at the Café de Paris. And he said he was making a big circus. Would I like to produce it? Because he obviously heard about the craziness in Africa and kind of knew that I was more than just the fiddle player. And so I was dispatched to China to make him a show that was similar to Cirque du Soleil, like an epic scale Cirque show. And so I did. And I went to China and I chose 50 Chinese acrobats, and we built this show. And it opened in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, because he just bought a huge theatre there. And it was called Le Grand Cirque. And it was a giant Cirque du Soleil type show. And it was wildly successful. I mean, it was my first thing I'd ever produced. I did really, really well. It was there for the summer season. So it was kind of like, it's a tourist town, but it used to do 25,000 people a week. So it was a pretty big show in a 3,000 seat theatre.
Yeah.
And eventually we ended up taking it to the Sydney Opera House in Australia. And it was just, it was the right place at the right time. I didn't own the show. I was an employee, but it was my kind of, energy and sort of, I suppose, direction behind it, or, creation behind it. And it was wildly successful in Sydney. And then we expanded. I had 5 versions of that show running around the world. in London and Sydney, and we came to Mexico and all over the world, really. And then eventually I just got, the show was making loads of money, and I was like, I should own one of these myself. And so me and my wife, Kirsty, who of course.
Yes, I of course know very well, yes.
We kind of had enough of Myrtle Beach and traveling around. So we moved to Los Angeles and to start a business really in theatre and to do something new. And it was, we didn't realize we'd been living in South Carolina. So I got here, it was like, oh my God, it was so expensive. And then in my kind of first or second month here, the people from the Sydney Opera House phoned me and said, because we did a lot of shows with them by that point. Every summer we'd go and do a new show. And they said, we've lost our show for the summer. What have you got? So I said, I've got an ice skating show, a variety show, or a magic show. And they liked the idea of a magic show. So I made the Illusionists, and it was just a poster. And that's how it all started. And so we went to Sydney that Christmas with a magic show. And the idea was that we were going to we were kind of going to contemporize magic, much like Cirque du Soleil contemporized circus. We were going to do the same thing to magic. And it was amazing. It was, it was incredibly stressful. But the idea was that you took 7 of the best magicians in the world and you made them into superstars and contemporized it with a live band. Everything about it was just like amazing. And the show was good, but the marketing was amazing. And we sold 41,000 tickets in 10 days. And then it just, I don't know what happened after that. It just went crazy. Like we were just really lucky. Like magic hadn't been seen for a long time. Much like circus, like when Cirque du Soleil came along, circus was almost like a dirty word. It was like a kind of dusty old tent with sad kind of animals, and Cirque du Soleil kind of completely recontemporized that whole art form. We kind of did the same to magic on a kind of smaller scale, but that was the idea. And it did, it's taken, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars at the box office. It's the highest grossing show in the history of Broadway that's not a musical. It did $3.2 million in a week. And so it's had huge successes.
That's wonderful. Yes.
And then
yes.
That's how it happened, by complete happenstance that we got into this position. I knew nothing about magic. So that's the very long-winded roller coaster journey of how I went from an unemployed fiddle player to owning a massive magic show.
And that, Simon, totally speaks about who you are as a person. You were thrown into the ring. You had to overcome a lot of adversity. Anybody after what happened in South Africa would have said, I've had enough. I'm never going to try to produce any show ever again because of all of what happened. But actually, it wasn't. It was just, circumstances, everything was ready and set, and it's just about, the tragedy of the death of the investor. But you had set up everything. You had done all of the work, right? Yeah,
this has happened like multiple times. So that was one particular disaster. But I had others where, this happens. If I look back through my sort of career, so many times we've been taken out by things that are beyond our control. So I set up a show in Florida. A version of Le Grand Cirque. I raised all the money, I put the tent up, and it was the day we opened, it was the Gulf water oil accident, exploded in the Gulf of Mexico. And so basically tourism dropped by 95% and the show was over. So we've been taken, I don't know if you remember, a volcanic event happened in Iceland, and it meant that no one could fly in Europe.
Yes, that's right.
So we've been taken out by oil slicks, hurricanes, ash clouds, death of investors, snowstorms in New York.
And the pandemic.
So nothing, it's a very risky business from that. People don't really realize those external forces like terrorism. I did a big show in London and it was during the Paris terrorist attacks. Things happen. So it's a crazy business. You've gotta expect some unforeseen things to happen. And it's more regular than people will imagine, I think.
Definitely. Oh my goodness. Yes. Then there's so much to overcome, and you learn so much from all of that. Like, for example, what has been one of the craziest things that has happened during the shows that you've had to just like fix any way you can and go on, because of course with all the variety of shows that of the acts that you have, escape artists, and you have arrows shooting across the stage and audience participation and everything, So what is one of the craziest things that has happened?
I mean, all sorts of things. My dress rehearsal for my first ever show, the guy fell off the top of the Wheel of Death during the rehearsal.
You gotta be
and
kidding
broke
me.
everything. So that happened during the dress rehearsal. So and that's people have been shot with arrows. People have had some pretty crazy accidents. It's. I mean, so we do two things really. We do magic and circus, but there's lots of crazy stunts, and we've definitely seen our fair share of. I've been sitting in the ER visitors room more times than I'd like to remember, to be honest. So, yes, it does happen.
I can believe that. Yes. And so what do you do? I mean, people have bought their tickets. The show has to go on. Do you end up doing somebody else, tell them to extend their act or, because of course, if that performer can't do it anymore, if they're in the ER.
Yeah, the show always goes on somehow. I mean, it always amazes me. Shows are always very stressful, putting them on, especially the opening of them. But somehow they always happen. Yeah. And sometimes you got a really amazing performer and he's out, and it could be anything. He might just have the flu and he's out. Oh my God, how are we going to do it? And somehow it always does happen. So the show must go on type thing. I just think that mentality is just what it is, and everyone just kind of gets on with it. And so yes, that's very much front and center.
Definitely. And Simon, I know now you've partnered up with Cirque du Soleil. So how is that now? How has that changed the production side of it, or the marketing, or everything with the Illusionists and Cirque?
Well, so we sold our company to Cirque about 2.5-3 years ago, and so it was an opportunity to kind of do what we do with a bit of a wider footprint. So that's how it's going to change it. To be honest, the plan has not really come together yet because of the pandemic. So. We were just waiting to kind of roll out this thing, and then the pandemic hit. So, it was, it's been a bit crazy, but we've got tons of stuff in the plans for the next sort of 6 months to a year. So it's quite exciting what's on the cards.
Oh, that's amazing. And will you be going to Mexico again? Because you're always so well received in Mexico City. I can attest to that.
Yeah, I really hope so. I mean, it's such an amazing market. So we've had, a huge amount of response, partially to do with OCESA being amazing hosts when we come.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great audience. I think Mexico City, I sort of call it the most underrated city in the world. I just think that every American should go and visit Mexico City, because I think it's one of those things that Americans don't realize just what an amazing city they have at their doorstep. It's so close and it's so vibrant and cultural, and there's so many incredible things to see. So it's one of our favorite places to come.
For sure. Yes, it does have a very, very wonderful cultural variety and a lot to offer. So, yeah, I mean, I know people always love to see the Illusionists when you go there. And, but let's now talk about something else that, when people go to your shows, of course, apart from having that amazing experience of seeing unbelievable things happen, what do you want people to take away, from the shows, or that, that they have an impression of?
Look, so the way I produce shows is that they're entertainment pieces. So that the whole reality of these things are that they are entertainment first. So they're there for, I don't produce things that kind of are really meant to be telling a story or changing people's lives. I produce shows for people to come and have a good night out. That's what I enjoy doing. So whether it be magic or circus or music or whatever we're doing, it is basically a spectacle of entertainment. That's what it is. You're there to see the craziest humans do the craziest things. You should laugh, you should be amazed, you should cry, you should have all those kind of emotions, but it's for me, it's entertainment first. So it's about putting amazing entertainers on stage.
Definitely. And it's also about, having the opportunity to have all of those emotions at once, because it's thrilling to see the dangerous acts, and you have very funny things happening as well, with magicians, with certain acts that you have. So it's all of very, very big emotions that come out there. So it's just exhilarating to witness one of these shows and be there. And if you get the chance to be on stage and participate with one of the magicians, it's even a lot more fun. It's like an added level of fun and just joy to be there, right? Definitely. And anyway, let's talk about another show that you're producing, and I don't know if you can talk about it now, but something that is themed with Game of Thrones. Is that something in the making?
It is in the making. Yeah, I can't say too much about it, but it was in the press, so we can sort of say a little bit. But we myself and my partners are producing a live version of Game of Thrones. It's a prequel. And it's really early in development, so there's not an awful lot to say about it. But we are working right now with an amazing director and writer in London, based on material from George. And it's on the cards, and hopefully it will happen at some point in the next couple of years or so.
Oh, my goodness. And well, of course, everyone will be hoping to see flying dragons and the whole thing there if possible. But I'm sure you'll come up with amazing things like those two amazing elephants that are in Circus 1903. It's just, wow, very, very impressive.
It's a super exciting world. So we're really, he is an amazing, amazing writer and kind of world builder. So we're super excited about where that goes.
Oh, yes. Well, hopefully we can have you on again for another interview when everything is ready to go, so you can tell us more about that.
Definitely.
Right? Good. So anyway, of course, you've mentioned Kirsty, your wife, and that she's an amazing dancer and choreographer and has been a part of the show. And would you want your kids to also follow in your footsteps or be part of the business in some way?
Maybe. I mean, it's definitely pretty volatile. So, I mean, if I always think about like where we live right now and all the kind of people that live around us, and myself and Kirsty don't have a degree to rub together. We have no qualifications whatsoever. We both left school, and I was a violin player and she was a dancer. So, it's not much of a backup plan, is it? So I think, as parents, you probably want a bit more stability. But, we've both been really lucky, kind of following the things that we really love. And I love making shows. Mm-hmm. She loved dancing and creating shows. And so it's been incredible. And my kids are really musical. They're really into kind of singing and playing the violin and playing piano and playing drums. They're very musical. I mean, I think I had a real passion for it, and so did Kirsty. So she grew up wanting to dance. She sort of said, like, when she was 8, she used to go and practice dancing in her bedroom for like hours on end. And I was the same. I was in hundreds of bands and orchestras, and I was always playing music and always kind of organizing the events and doing the bits that were behind the scenes and trying to sell tickets and do all that bit. So it was always the thing that I loved doing. So I think if they love doing it, then I definitely encourage them to do it. If they don't love doing it, then it's not for them. But a bit early to tell.
Yeah. Yes, but I don't know. I can sort of see it, knowing your beautiful kids. Yes, I can definitely see how they might be going into it. And of course, it's so alluring and so wonderful to be in that world and watching all these amazing acts. How can you not be or not want to be part of it? It's just amazing. So watch out.
Definitely, yeah.
I think that yes. Simon, what can you recommend or just a bit of advice that you can give to young producers who maybe are a little bit afraid of taking that big step and in heading in the right direction of a goal that they have, but that, they might just not know exactly how to go about it?
Well, look, I think with show business, and it applies to anything, whether it's whether you want to be a dancer or you want to be a producer or a director, there's two sides to it, right? You have to be good creatively and you have to make sure that you're making money. And that's basically the balance. It's the show and the business. There's literally two sides to the coin. And whether you're a dancer and, the real goal is, how do I make someone money? That's got to be forefront of it. Like, how can I add value to something that's going to make me valuable? And as someone wanting to be a producer, I think that first and foremost, it's really easy to say, follow your dreams and make something creatively. But I always think that the first thing to do is try and find a way of turning your dream into some kind of financial reality. Like, try and find a way that it pays for itself. Like, don't be betting the whole house on the next thing. Like, you want to have as many people invested in you as possible. And so try and make it work financially, whatever it may be, like whether you find an investor or a partner or a theater or a collaborator, or whether you're just making it so cheaply that it's not a big risk. Like, and people sort of talk about risk taking and they say, oh, you've taken so many risks. And we have taken loads of risks, but the reality of it is that like, we did it in a way that always made sure that we were like likely to succeed financially. And I think so many things I see from sort of young people, they're just like, they're so unlikely to succeed. They never get past a very early point. Like, you've got to try and get that business side of it like working, and it should work on the back. It should work on the back of a napkin. Like, it should be, you know, it should make sense. Like, nothing is too good to be true. Like, you know, it should be like, okay, this is a great idea. It's, you know, it's not like, if it sells 97% of the tickets, we're going to break even. It should be like, okay, so if it sells 50% of the tickets in a small room, we should make some money from it. So I think like being financially realistic is actually like not talked about a lot, and is actually super important. Like, just having a goal that is actually likely to succeed, and not like betting the farm on some wild idea that like, and it might be an amazing idea, but like, you know, some ideas need a lot of money and a lot of time. Like, go for ones that are actually likely to make, you know, get your foot on the ladder and get some success underneath you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely creative entrepreneurs, you know, it does happen a lot. I mean, you're right. I've seen it as well with many people that do have great ideas. But I think some of the things that you said, like your boss, like early on said, create all the marketing first, you know, that is one of the things that creative minds or creative people don't really think about that much. They think, okay, now we've done the whole production, now we have the whole concept and everything. Yeah, we'll just do a little bit of marketing and that'll be it, right? But sometimes no, I mean, it has to be just as much of an effort put into that as it is into designing and producing and doing the whole thing.
Well, I'd say it's even more important. So like, you know, ultimately, you know, I sort of have this discussion a lot with people. You can create amazing art that no one sees, or you can create art that people do see. And there's time in your life, especially when you're young, to do the bit, like the passion project that's going to be the thing that you really don't care if it makes money or not. Like, you can do that when you've got a bit of stability behind you. But the biggest thing is that like, producing is a really tough game, and you make a lot of mistakes along the way. Like, we've probably produced 100 shows over the last 20 years, you know, like, you know, because every version of The Illusionists is basically a different show. We've had dozens of circuses, all sorts of offshoots of things. And every single show, you get a little bit better at doing it. And so the experience really, really matters. Like, the experience of putting these shows on, selling tickets, the PR, the marketing, the rehearsals, the budget, everything to do with the show. So you've got to get a few under your belt. Like, you're not going to have the $50 million idea on your first one. Like, I don't know anybody that produced like Phantom of the Opera on their first go. Like, maybe it's happened, but like normally it happens because someone's done a ton of stuff before it, and then they were in the right place at the right time to capitalize on the one they were successful on. So you've got to get some wins on the sheet. And so just doing it is important. And so like, when I go back to like it being financially successful, like that matters. Like, selling, I wish it didn't, but basically, like, having things that make other people money and shows that make money are important. Even if like it just breaks even or makes a little bit of money, like, what it can't be is a huge financial disaster, because no one's ever going to work with you again. It has to be financially responsible. And so you've got to just start off and get the wins and try a lot of different things. I always sort of think that it's a game. I equate it to like baseball, right? So like, it's about hitting singles and doubles and then occasionally hitting a home run. And you never really know when the home run is coming. But for God's sake, don't strike out. Like, you're knocking away. So like, you're trying an idea, you're not losing too much money, you're trying another idea, maybe you win a bit, then you lose a bit, then you win a bit, and you kind of, none of it's kind of retirement money, but they're all experience. And then just when you're not least expecting it, you whack one out the park and it makes a ton of money and the show's amazing, and then it's creatively successful. And you know, it does take money to make shows creatively successful, having rehearsals and all the things that go along with it. So, you know, it's quite important that people put that first, as much as that is not what people want to hear. Like, It's the important bits.
Because it does take work. It takes a lot of work to do that, and a lot of planning and knowing how to find the right people to believe in you and in your project and your dream and invest into it, right?
Completely.
So, yeah. And let's talk about now how you find all the magicians, the performers and everyone, because of course you do a lot of traveling, not only to put on the shows, but also you're scouting more people to bring into the shows, right? So how do you find all of these amazing performers?
With the magicians, they kind of find us, to be honest, because there's not that many of them. So if you look at the number of world-class magicians that are out there that are like really good on stage, and I'm not talking about like people that are great at sleight of hand that can kind of come into a restaurant and, dazzle you. There's lots of those, but people can actually work on stage at like an audience of 1,000 people and above. There's not that many. There's maybe like, my guess in the entire world, under 50. So it's a pretty small talent pool. Maybe there's a few more that we don't know about, but so you pretty much know where they are and what they do. And there are a few that, up and coming ones that slip through the cracks. So we pretty much know them. Like we're always shocked when we see one we don't know. Occasionally there is one that we don't know, or there's someone who's kind of like on a smaller level and they break out because they've done something viral, or maybe they've been on America's Got Talent, or, occasionally you find one, but it's a very, very small talent show. So for magic, it's pretty easy. For circus, it's a much wider pool. So I used to be the guy that went and did it. I flew to China and went village to village looking for people that could, we went from school to school. They had acrobatic schools, and, acrobats come from schools, they come from gyms, they come from sports teams, they come from circus families. So they come from a pretty wide array of people, but we're constantly searching for what that next thing is. So it's, that's how that works.
Wow. And then once you have all of the performers, and how do you come up with a concept to sort of, because I heard you say in an interview that you have all of these, amazing acts, but that you have to have like a theme that unites all of them under one path, like one theme.
Well,
how do you come up with
the
those?
theme comes first, right? So like I'm producing a new show in Vegas right now, which I can't tell you exactly what it is, but basically the theme comes first. And then you kind of find the performers to fit into that theme. So we produce things. So we come up with an idea. We think it's going to make a load of money. We make the marketing. We make the posters. We kind of create the assets around the show very, very, very early on, and we really rigorously test those. And then after we've tested it and we've got it very far, then we're pretty confident the show is going to be like something that people want to do. We then cast the show. So we kind of do it in reverse.
Got it.
So we don't really start with the acts. We kind of end with the acts.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that seems a much more logical way to go around it, for sure. Simon, is there anything else that you'd want to talk about, or another bit of advice, for people that definitely want to go into production or directing?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, always it's like follow your dreams. I actually don't think it's about like following your dreams. I just think it's about doing it. Like, I think that I don't know anybody that's successful that hasn't worked 18-hour days. Like, I just don't know anyone. And so like, it's great to dream, but it's better to do. And so just being really active and really hungry is the way to do it. And not expecting the outcomes to be great all the time, but just doing it. Like the people that we like working with are the ones that have done a lot of stuff. They've just done so many shows. And then once that's happened, you can really kind of lean on them. So that's my advice. Unfortunately, there's not a shortcut. You just got to work bloody hard. But I'm sure that's the same in a lot of industries, but I'd say even more so in entertainment, because it's not like you can point to a degree or a bit of paper or a diploma and say, look, I've achieved this. It's like the only thing people care about is the last thing that you did. Was it successful? Did it make money?
Correct.
Did people like it? So that is unfortunately the business we're in.
Yes, we're only as famous as our last production, as our last show or TV or movie thing, for sure. So we have to keep improving and just, practicing and improving ourselves and seeing how else we can grow, and that's of course true of everything in show business. But you have certainly proved that with all the shows, and they're amazing. How can people find out? Of course, you do great marketing, so I'm sure people already know where they are. I mean, you're in the biggest venues in every city, but now after the pandemic, I'm sure that things have sort of changed a little bit, and I don't know if you are again. Many theaters have they have every other row canceled out, like at the movie house, every 2 seats, there's 2 in the middle that they don't sell, for social distancing. So how are those things working out for you now?
Well, in Vegas, it's 100% capacity. So,
Oh, it is already.
It's
wonderful.
masks, but
okay.
100% capacity. Look, I just don't think it's very tough, right? Until the world is normal again, live entertainment is the last thing, you'll get on a flight, but I'm not sure you go to a theater. So we're obviously hoping this thing is over sooner rather than later, but people are coming out and seeing shows, which is great. Performers are back on stage, which is the biggest thing because it's just been so tough, for everybody.
Yeah.
So look, I mean, we're optimistic, but it has to go away. I mean, I keep on sort of saying to people it's not going to be completely normal until people my mum are comfortable going to the theatre. And even people that are vaccinated, some of them are not comfortable going to the theatre. And I understand it, if it's tough, but I think we're almost at the point now with these vaccines and things that, your chances of a bad outcome are pretty low. So, it's getting to the point now that it's a risk worth taking. So hopefully you'll be there soon in Mexico City and we can be back performing.
Yes, absolutely. Or you'll come to Houston again and I'll, be happy to see you here
Amazing.
as well. Yes, wonderful. Simon, well, thank you again so much for giving me some of your time. And I'm sure you have lots of other rehearsals and things to get to, but hopefully you'll have a little rest over the weekend. And so anyway, so people will follow you on Instagram or Twitter or go to the website to find out about seasons.
Yeah, I actually have no social media myself. So I do no publicity for my own things, which is... a decision I took 20 years ago. I don't even know how Instagram works, but my company is very good at it. So certainly under Cirque du Soleil, there's a lot of information about where our shows are going next. So yes, there's not much on the website yet because for our stuff, because although I have America's Got Talent, the live show opening in Vegas next week, which is quite exciting.
Wonderful.
And then in spring, we have another new show, hopefully opening in Las Vegas. And then I've got Circus 1903 in London this Christmas. And then next year, hopefully we'll be busy again and we'll be back on the road.
Wonderful. Well, that all sounds amazing. And as always, you keep working at it. You keep creating all of these shows and just making them greater. So best of luck with all of the productions, and we'll be definitely following closely to see which one we can catch wherever we are, since you're going a lot all over the world. But congratulations on all the success, and I wish you definitely all the best with all of it. And so thank you again.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to do it.
Thanks for joining us on La Pizarra. Want to listen to more episodes? Visit lapizarrapodcast.com or nickimondolini.com/La Pizarra, where you can sign up for our newsletter and get exclusive previews of future episodes, as well as resources for your creative business. Tune in next week for another interesting interview.